Hi. Not so long ago, Kawasaki introduced a new Versys 1100 for 2025. But is it really new? So today we're gonna talk about new Versys 1100. We're gonna check what it has to offer, what's new, what's old, what's different. So I'm gonna compare the new Versys 1100 with old Versys 1000. I'm going to show you what are the differences between those two bikes. We're going to look at the all technical data and we're going to compare that as well. I'm a Kawasaki Versys user for the last 7 years, so I know a little bit about that. I can tell you if they made it better, if they made it worse. So let's get into it. So the new Versys 1100. It doesn't really look new because theoretically there is nothing changed on the outside of the bike, on the look of the bike. It looks exactly the same apart for a few small changes. I'm gonna show you of course everything in a moment. Some time ago there was a rumors that Kawasaki is gonna make a Versys H2, so turbocharged Versys. There were various photos circulating on the internet about how this bike supposed to look like, and I must say I was very intrigued because this design of this rumor bike was looking really incredible. I really liked how it looks. So very sporty versus with the Brembo brakes and that air inlets from on the front side. It was just looking really amazing. I wasn't really excited about big turbo charge engine because I don't need that. But the looks of the bike, I was very excited about it. Unfortunately, this didn't happen, or not yet happened. Of I don't know, maybe it will never happen, but it's a good looking bike. Anyways, that didn't happen. It happened something else. One of the obvious changes in the new Versys is of course the engine, the new 1100cc engine. Kawasaki increased its capacity from 1043cc to 1099cc. And normally when there is an increase in capacity, it's achieved by making a bigger bore in the cylinder. But that's not what the Kawasaki did. Kawasaki increased the stroke of the piston, and that meant total redesigning of the engine. Because of its increased capacity and increased power, they had to reprogram ECU, they had to redesign the gearbox, change the gear ratio, all those things to match performance of the engine. New Versys engine get also tweaked targeting mid-range torque. Now there are new center intake funnels, now 45 mm longer, to boost ground between 4000 and 7000 RPM. Throttle bodies and intake ports are narrower now to boost air velocity. All of that in the pursuit of torque. The ECU is reprogrammed and the cam profiles are new as well. Valve lift is reduced to increase the torque. There is a heavier flywheel and the secondary balancer to reduce the vibrations. The old Versys has a problem with vibration between 4 and 5000 RPM. They are visible when I mount the cameras on my crash bars next to the engine. I can see on the camera that it's shaking much more than it was in second generation Versys. So I hope that by placing this heavier flywheel and extra balancer will reduce these vibrations. But let's talk the numbers and compare the old Versys with the new Versys. So of course both bikes have a liquid-cooled 4-cylinder 4-stroke inline engine, and the old Versys 1000 have a capacity of 1043 cc. New Versys 1100 has a cylinder capacity of 1099 cc, which gave us increase of 56 cc. Now bore and stroke. The Versys 1000 has a bore of 77 mm and a stroke of 56 mm. New Versys 1100 has a bore 77, so exactly the same, but the stroke is 59 mm, which is of course 3 mm more. Another important increase is compression ratio. So the Versys 1000 has 10.3 to 1 and Versys 1100 has compression ratio 11.8 to 1. And now power-wise. The maximum power of Versys 1000 was 88.2 kilowatts, which gave us 120 horsepower by 9000 RPM. Versys 1100 has 99 kilowatts, which gives us 135 horsepower by 9000 RPM. Now, maximum torque in Versys 1000 was 102 Nm by 7500 RPM, and in Versys 1100 maximum torque is 112 Nm by 7600 RPM. So there is a visible increase in torque and RPMs as well. Fuel consumption, both engines, well, that depends where you look. Some websites say that it's exactly the same, so 5.6 liter. Other websites say that Versys 1000 at 5.5 liter and 1100 at 5.6 liter consumption. So it's about 0.1 liter more for 100 kilometers than the old Versys. But as I said, every website says something different, so I don't know where is the true. Anyways, 0.1 liter increase is not much. As I mentioned before, they redesigned the gearbox to match the performance of the engine. And of course, the gear ratio is different. So let's look at the gear ratio numbers. So as you can see, primary gear ratio is different. First gear is a little bit different. Second gear is exactly the same. Third gear is different as well. Fourth gear ratio is different. Fifth gear ratio is different. And sixth gear ratio is different. And of course, final drive ratio is different as well. And there is one more change in the engine. The engine is not silver anymore. It's now painted black, which personally I think it looks worse. I think that the silver coloring of the engine was looking much better in the design of the bike. But we'll see, maybe for the next year, 2026, they're gonna change the color of the engine. We'll see about that. So there is definitely a new engine in the Versys, but outside the bike looks exactly the same. There's not much changed. So the fairing, frame, seat, everything is the same, but there are some small changes, obviously referring to the engine change. So the brakes. So in old Versys there were pedal discs, which in theory the pedal thing helped with cooling the brakes. This time, if you look closely to the picture, there are regular disc brakes. And on the front we have a double semi-floating 310mm brake discs, but we have the same brake calipers. Dual radially mounted 4-piston monoblocks, which I must say are better than they were in the second generation Versys, but they still not there. I would prefer to have in the Versys, for example, Brembo calipers. But they did change the disc brakes, so let's hope that the brakes gonna get better. In the rear brake, the brake disc is increased in size. So now there is 260mm brake disc and as well a normal brake disc. In our Versys there were a pedal brake disc. Another thing that is changed in the Versys and which makes me very happy is the quick shifter. quick shifter is reprogrammed to better match the performance of the new engine. And I must say I'm very happy about it, because the old quick shifter was real shit. That thing was so problematic. I really hate that thing. It's the most hated thing in this bike. When I bought my 3rd generation Versys, I had to relearn how to switch the gears with the quick shifter, because normally I was switching the gears with the clutch on the lower RPM. That's not possible with this quick shifter. You can push as hard as you want. The gears just not engaging. It's like a rubber. And in the new Versys, what Kawasaki say, they reprogrammed the quick shifter so it will change the gears by lower RPM. That makes me really happy, because this is my style of riding. Another problem with the old quick shifter was, for example, if I want to overtake another car and I have to do it very quickly, so I have to switch the gears quickly as well. And what happened many times, that they changed the gear from 5th to 6th, and just a second later the 6th gear jumped out and I found myself with my gearbox between 5th and 6th with enormous squeaking sounds, and of course full throttle, so the engine went in a very high RPM. It was like being at the dentist. So I hope new quick shifter won't do that. Another change in the Kawasaki Versys 1100 is Kawasaki mounted a new USB-C port on the handlebars, which is incredibly outdated and incredibly ugly. It's gonna be the first thing that will be thrown away, because it's really ugly. Come on, Kawasaki, you can do better than this. Another change, there is of course a Rideology app for the Kawasaki, where you can look all the stuff on your bike. You can change settings in your bike through this app. But now you can control this app by voice. Well, so what? I'm not really a big fan of the app. I'm not using it because I prefer to ride the bike than play with the apps. I do it every day in the computer, making for you videos. That's enough playing with the computers and the apps. So if you like that kind of stuff, that's good for you. You can play with your app. You can do voice commands. For me, another obvious change for 2025 Versys is of course the colors. There are different colors in different countries, of course. In the Netherlands there is 2, it's black grey and black white. None of these colors is my colors. I won't be buying Versys from 2025. And now the most important price-wise. Well, the price didn't change much from the last year. And that was the goal of Kawasaki, to make a new engine, make a bike better and not increase the price. So the price for 2025 Versys 1100 SE model is 18,549 euros. The price for the old Versys 1000 SE was 18,399 euros. So that's only 150 euro more. But of course we have inflation, so that's about right. And now most important question, would I buy a new Versys 1100? Well, I'm changing my bikes mostly around every 4 years. And at the moment I'm on my 3rd year with Versys 1000 SE 3rd generation. If I change the bike, that's going to be for sure. And next year, is it going to be Versys? Well, we'll see about it. Versys, of course, is my first option. I'm looking as well at the other bikes, but I must say that the Versys is most optimal motorcycle for me. However, there are some other new bikes, so I will have to for sure test ride some bikes next year. Of course, I will test a new 1100 Versys as soon as that will be possible. and then probably next year and the end of the next year I will make my decision which bike I should choose. I won't be changing my Versys to another Versys immediately, because this bike is just introduced, it's just made. So I'm sure it will have some baby problems, young age problems or whatever it's called. So for sure I'm gonna wait at least 1 year with buying Versys or any other bike, because I don't say that's 100%. We'll see what are the problems. If there are no problems, then decision will be much easier. And even if I want to change the Versys now, it wouldn't be possible, because I don't have enough money for it. And I don't like the colors for these 20-25 years. So let's wait for another year. And I have to rethink my strategy about selling and buying the same bike. Yeah, everything is just in planning, so we'll see about that. So anyways guys, that was the quick update about Versys 1100. I hope it was helpful. I hope you learned something new. Of course, if you are interested in the Versys, go to your dealer and just test ride and buy it if you like it or not. Yeah, that is the best way to decide if you like the bike or not. I'm gonna end this video at this point. So thank you for watching guys, and of course see you in the next one. If you have questions, write down below.